Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. There's a little glint of daylight coming into play, a little bit. Here is Beam's 8 Star, introduced in 1976, 49 years ago, from James B. Beam Distilling. You won't see it on their website unless they added it overnight, or last time I checked, because they don't really acknowledge it. In fact, they don't even use their own name on it. This says Clear Springs Distilling Company, but that's Claremont, Frankfort and Claremont, Kentucky. But everybody knows that's Jim Beam, but James B. Beam Distilling. But whatever they want to do, it doesn't matter to me. A lot of these companies will use these alias names to try to distance themselves from products, or just to try to make it seem like it's a separate company, like with Old Fitzgerald or Elijah Craig and all that, but it's all Heaven Hill. All right. Anyway, the competitor, Well Made, it's got like a branding iron trademark, premium quality trademark liquors. Well Made Liquors is a line of liquor. American. This is their black, white, and gold label American blended whiskey. They're both 80 proof. Neither one has a website. Now, this was introduced in 2017 by, it says on the bottleneck, Well Made Spirits Company. But it's Diageo. The same people that make Crown Royal, Johnny Walker, Red Label, Seagram 7 Crown, either they make it themselves as with Crown Royal or they have it made for them, but they own the rights to it. Okay. Well, you see, it's a double entendre name, Well Made. And I think it means, yeah, it's well made, but it's for the well. Get it? Well whiskey, bar whiskey. Below the counter, when you're ordering a whiskey, sour or something, they'll use that. They buy it cheap and they charge a lot. Just like the Beam's 8 Star, same purpose. Go to the bar, they'll have Jim Beam up on the shelf, but you order a Beam and Coke, they're pulling from under the counter, and it's Beam's 8 Star. And they didn't cheat you because you said Beam and Coke. You didn't say Jim Beam and Coke. Okay. But anyway, they exist for that reason. These are both liter bottles, which is your typical barroom bottle, liter. I bought these at the same place, Star, S-T-A-R, Star on Belle Chase Highway, Louisiana Highway 23, southbound in Gretna, Louisiana. Now, there's also 2 Star locations in Kenner. It's kind of a legendary liquor store in Louisiana. Actually, people know it. People that are into, chasing down hard to find liquor and whatnot and unusual varieties, they'll go to Star. And all the distributors know about Star. They kind of like give it first pick on things. Yes, we're really live. Thanks for watching. So Star is so big as far as their name. They have tastings there. You go in there sometimes on usually a Saturday. They'll have like Seagram's gin, a representative there letting people taste Seagram's gin and other varieties of it, flavors, and with any product really. And they have their own barrel picks. You can go to Star and they'll have like Blanton's barrel pick Star, and you got to get on a list to get it and that kind of stuff. So Well Made for the well. I don't know. I don't even know if this is still in production, but it seems that it is, because when you look it up, liquor stores have it in stock. And I did find it about 2 years ago. So I saw it before at another store, Broadway Liquors, but their price was not good. And I was like, nah, I'm not paying that. And I think it was only a 750 milliliter, if I'm not mistaken. But Star had it, and it was $9. You can see it's a new bottle. I mean, it's in great shape. I mean, it looks new. It may not really be new, but trying to see the year. They don't have a year stamped on the bottom, which they usually do. Have it molded in there. Yeah, here's a code. Looks like sometimes these codes are like Indecipherable. It might be 2019, so it might be 6 years old, but it looks new. But he said $9. It's $9. He scanned it because I don't think there was a tag, and then he scanned it. And he said $9. I said for $9. It's like he prices everything like this for $9 a liter. So I bought it. About a year later, I went there and they had this old bottle of Beams 8-Star. I could see it was all faded from the light. Although I was surprised that the red didn't fade. Usually red fades first, but the gold had oxidized to look kind of silver. Because if you see a fresh bottle, it'll be like a real intense gold, not this washed out gold. But whatever the case, I could see it was all right, most likely, also $9. Not the normal price, okay? So don't expect to find these for $9. But you might find them for just a tiny bit more, actually. You may not find them you may not have to pay too much. Yeah, it is a nice looking bottle for the price. Have you had it, Jake? Okay, so the Beams 8-Star is amber. Barely amber, it's just more like gold. And the Well Made is similar, but a little darker, a little more amber. Now, just like in Canada and Ireland and Scotland, in fact, blended whiskey in the United States can have caramel color added, and they don't have to indicate it on the bottle. I'm not saying that they have it. They're allowed to have it. That's up to them. They're allowed to have a little bit of flavoring added. Can't exceed 2.5% of the volume, not to exceed 2.5%, but they can do it. Not saying they do it, they can do it. Allowed is not the same as required. Blend ratio is given on these bottles. Well, actually, it's required. An American blended whiskey, if they use any unaged spirits, they have to indicate what percentage of the content is that. And this 2014 bottle, I did figure out it was 2014 bottle. This bottle, it's 75% grain neutral spirits and 25% straight whiskey, most likely bourbon and almost assuredly Jim Beam. We don't know that, but no age statement, so we know the straight whiskey in there is at least 4 years old. So I would definitely believe that it's probably Jim Beam, maybe some batches that weren't quite up to standard, and they just blended them in and sold it as a cheap product. Makes sense. Why waste it? People are going to use it almost assuredly as a mixer, but that's fine, But anyway, Well Made, that would be more mystery, because yes, a mystery, maybe not a mystery. Diageo owns Bullet Bourbon Distillery in Kentucky. Okay. They also own George Dickel Tennessee Whiskey Distillery in Tennessee. So it's very likely a high probability that it could be either some Dickel or some Bullet or both. That once again did not quite measure up, but were at least 4 years old, and they just blended it in with some grain spirits that they probably bought from Indiana at a distillery that they affiliate with. They don't own it, but they definitely affiliate with it. Funny thing about this one, Well Made is 79%. I've never seen that in any blended whiskey before, American, that it's 79% grain spirits. 21% straight whiskey. That's kind of an odd, it's literally an odd number, 79, but it's just strange, normally, but that's how they wanted to do it. So I bought both of these in Louisiana. I was not looking for either. I just stumbled across it, just casually stopping in liquor store, convenience store, technically, on the way to a restaurant. Okay, so, you've not tried Well Made yet. Okay, so, but there's a whole line of Well Made. There's Well Made vodka, Well Made, the whiskey I have here, gin, rum, brandy, tequila. Well, obviously that's sourced out from Mexico, But Diageo is the world's biggest liquor company. They have, I think, tequila distilleries down there. So, or they at least affiliated with them, have contracts with them. So that wouldn't be anything surprising. All right. So as far as where can you find it, I cannot tell you. I don't know. I don't know how good Jim Beam, Beam is about directing you to find stuff. I've never called Diageo for that. I've called Buffalo Trace many times, Sazerac Company, and they have always pinpointed where. They'll just stay on the phone and say, okay, where are you located? And they'll look it up. You can hear them typing. Okay, and they'll tell you, go to this store. They have it, and they'll give you and then they'll say, oh, that store used to have it, but the last time they purchased it was 2014. I even tell you when, like October 2014 was the last time they ordered it. So they've got a really good database, and but I can only speak for them because that's the only one I've talked to. And it was very helpful. And I went to the store. There it was. I was looking for James Fox Canadian whiskey. Nothing brilliant. Just a regular old Canadian blended whiskey. But good, good. But he pinpointed where to find it. I went to that store and there it was. So they're very helpful. All right. Sorry about my nose. All of a sudden, I must have breathed in something I was allergic to outside. Well, pollen or something. Whew. Morning, Ron. Hope you are well. Looks like a nice day here in Toronto. Going to go to a skate park around lunch to get some exercise. Well, that sounds good, Joe Cobb. Some companies care. Some companies make so much they don't bother with customer support, sadly. Yeah, I'm afraid you're right. It's funny to see the difference in customer service across the various brands. Now, I can't say that the Beam and Diageo don't have good customer service. Like I said, I've never engaged them, so I don't know. Well, I did have some engagement with Diageo now that I remember. I contacted them about a liquor called Seagram's VO Gold. VO Gold. That's an 8-year age Seagram's VO, so a little higher grade. And all of a sudden I wasn't finding it, and I called them and I emailed them, and the lady sent me a reply within an hour or two, and she said, well, unfortunately, as of 2017, this was back then, we're going to discontinue it. She said, we're not going to produce anymore. But they might have still had some aging for 8 years. They're not going to throw it out. But then it was right after that, not long after that, they sold that brand and Seagram's VO and a bunch of other brands to the Sazerac Company. I think another one they sold was Yukon Jack, which you still see around, not much, but that's a whiskey liqueur. And now I'm seeing VO Gold everywhere again. So I think Sazerac said, no, we're not discontinuing it. It has potential. Maybe they didn't really do much with the brand, and they let it kind of die. So their attitude was they were going to revitalize VO because it was a classic brand, and which it seems to have been revitalized. Then to continue VO Gold, which I can find easily, and the price has never changed, so I'm very happy about that. Price is still the same as when I first bought it years ago. And what am I saying? They've definitely revitalized VO. Now, I'm not saying that'll be successful, but now they introduced VO Black, 90 proof, extra age. That's going up against Crown Royal Black. They introduced VO Apple, flavored. What that's going up against, Crown Royal Apple. And I'd see them around, not here in this town, but in Metairie at Rouse's, really pushes that. So don't know if it's any good. I would suspect it would be. I know Sazerac has a big operation in Canada. It's called Sazerac Canada. They talk about the distillery on their website. And they've got a guy working there. I guess he's getting up in age now, Drew Mayfield. They said he was the last master distiller at Seagram's in Canada before they sold all their operations. The family that owned Seagram's decided to get out of the liquor business for various reasons, put their money in some other industries. So they mainly media, electronic media, streaming media as we call it now. But they bought that distillery, and they renovated it and everything. And they kept him on. They said, well, you could work for us. And they talk about that on their website. The last distillery master of Seagram's, which would have been 25 years ago, and then he works for them now. But that's good long. I don't know how long he was over there at Seagram's. So maybe only a couple of years. I think he was the guy, though, that brought in the VO Gold in 1998. Might have been his first project and last since they sold up. But he's still up there active. And, oh, I mean, good grief. Sazerac makes so many Canadian whiskeys, you can't keep track. Either make them or have them made. They have a huge portfolio of that, so you obviously take it seriously. Not to mention all the bourbons. Okay, but that's Sazerac. We're not talking about them right now. We're dealing with two other companies, Diageo and Beam. And they all three make these what we call well whiskeys or bar whiskeys. All three companies. You say, but that's low end. I know. Those companies make money off the low end and the mid range and the super high. You know, Johnny Walker Green Label, the $80 bottles. That's the high, and higher. They go higher than that. They've got regular Johnny Walker, which you could find on sale, $22. And then they got the lower end, like, for instance, this. Well made. And it goes same with Beam. This is their low end Beam 8-star. Then they got regular Jim Beam, which would be still below premium. But they have higher level Jim Beams like Old Tub, things like that. And then the super premium stuff that you got to really start shelling out for. All right. Okay. Aroma on this one is not much. Certainly not a bad aroma. It's just not much happening there. Kind of neutral would make sense if it's almost all neutral spirits. Only difference really is that in Canada, all the spirits have to be aged at least 3 years in new or used barrels. That doesn't matter. People will say that, but they're not correct. They'll say Scotch has to be aged in used barrels. Somebody told me that this week. I said, no, it doesn't. That's the tradition. But sometimes they take brand new virgin barrels, never before used, and they'll either char it and age it or not char it and age it. It's up to them. Okay, maybe a little more bourbon flavor aroma here, like the corn type of thing. All right, well, let's go with the taste. Cheers. All right. That is such a stereotypical flavor. Like if somebody asks you, what would a general, it might be from another country. I've never tasted American whiskey. What would a general American whiskey taste like? Just like a standard flavor. Give them this. Oh, okay. They would say, oh, okay, that doesn't taste much different than Japanese or Canadian. Yeah, it's just like nothing like a morning cheer. So just a standard flavor, and that's what they want with these, standard. They don't want anything exotic. They don't want anything off kilter or strange, or there's other whiskeys for that. Yeah, this one has a little bit more corn flour. I call it that. I don't say it has corn flour in it. I say it tastes like it. So that's making me think it's the Beam's 8-star. And bourbon has I found a little bit of a strange flavor, and this I'll be playing off of that. A little odd. Just a little, but still standard. It's within that. It's still within the framework of a standard American whiskey. Now, some people who view themselves as experts, they'll say, that's not a real whiskey. That will show me that they're not an expert. Yeah, it is a real whiskey. It's a real blended whiskey. That's a legal term. I don't make the law. I don't make the regulations in pursuant of the law. They, talking about the U.S. government, make these regulations. They've been on the books since the end of Prohibition. over 90 years. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. If you're going to tell me, they will say that's nothing but brown vodka. A, it doesn't contain vodka, so that doesn't even make sense. And the third point is they try to act like it's a problem, like, oh, I would never drink that. Well, then why are you talking about it? Don't drink it. It's almost like they're under some kind of like requirement to drink. All you gotta do is ignore it. They do this with beer, Budweiser. I don't drink stuff. Like you got to make a big announcement about it. I don't drink stuff like that. Well, why you had to make a big announcement about it? Oh, I see, because you want to let everybody know you're much more refined. But that actually makes it people think the opposite. Like you're trying to pose yourself as some kind of expert. A real expert and a real beer, wine, and liquor gourmand, they would not go around announcing that to everybody. They would just deal with the products and follow their interests. They don't have to go tell everybody about this like they are an apostle. But really, they're just an egg. What is the proof of these? 80 proof, regular, standard, minimum. Can't go lower than 80. Wouldn't be a whiskey in the United States. Now, New Zealand, that's different. They go down. They have 38%, 35% call it whiskey. In the United States, you could sell it. You could sell it as something else, but couldn't sell it as whiskey because it wouldn't be legally whiskey. Wine experts can be the worst, huh? I've heard people say that. Or maybe you mean wine wannabe experts. Like I say, the real experts wouldn't bother with it. They wouldn't have to go around telling everybody, oh, I would never drink Robert Mondavi. Well, nobody was talking to you. All right. Anyway, it's the same with music, Anything special here? I don't think so. But it's nothing bad. They're both like a B. I'll give them a B. Good. Good. Now, what is an awesome American blended whiskey? I don't know of any. Any score in the A range? Sitting here thinking about it. I don't. But I never had Redneck Riviera. I've never had TX. And I've never had Rebecca Creek. And I'm thinking there's another one I'm not thinking of. Those are much more expensive. They don't even come in under $23. The cheapest one you'd find is 23. But they're all blended American whiskey. You look at the label, it says 65% grain neutral spirits or 80, whatever. And they run it at $25 to $30 a bottle. I can't say they're no good because I never had them. Somebody likes it because I see it everywhere. They're never discounted. And the price always holds. I see Rebecca Creek advertisements. If you watch the Rangers games, Texas Rangers advertising Rebecca Creek. So there's an answer to that. If it was trash, junk, garbage, filth, how would it be priced at $23 to $30 and have a following? Doesn't make sense. Do I plan to ever try those? I do. And in fact, I was going to buy that Redneck Riviera. That was one of these country music stars that kind of pioneered that brand. Has his hand in it, which I don't have a problem with that either. But then I ran across two other blended whiskey products at a local liquor store, and he had them for $6.99. So I was like, I'll buy them. I had seen them before, but in a different format. I had already seen Heaven Hill, Kentucky blended whiskey, but in a different format. And I already saw, and now they call it Quality House. They didn't change the label. They just changed the name on the label, which is bizarre. And then T.W. Samuels had that before, but now they got a new format for it. So I was curious to try them. And then I figured, what heck, $6.99, I'm two full bottles for $13.98. Yeah, I'll do it. Okay, so then that kind of delayed me on the Redneck Riviera, but I got to get to those. Brothers Bond is good. Oh, that's a bourbon though, isn't it? From New York City. I think real experts just want everyone to enjoy whatever they enjoy. I agree with that. They don't stress. When I say stress, I mean get stressed out. They don't get stressed over products that are lower level. And I'm not here to champion low level products. That is not my goal. Some people have accused me of that. You just trying to get people to like junk or whatever. I said, no, I'm not. I don't care what people drink or what they like or what they hate. It doesn't makes no difference to me. I just tried them because they're there. They're on the shelf. They exist. It's there. It's actual. It's literally a product that I bought in the store. And I said, let me try it. And most of the video reviews I watch are agreeing with me. They're saying, yeah, it's all right. Not amazing, but all right. Oh, they offer an American blended rye. Oh, blended rye. Now, see, that's a little different, but same concept. Different result, but same concept. Well, in fact, these are all the same concept. It's just how you blend and how you configure it, but it's the same because the flavor is mostly coming from the straight whiskeys here. The neutral doesn't matter. That's just the body. That's the base. That's the bulk. Blended Scotch, same concept. They use a base whiskey called grain whiskey. It has very little flavor and very little aroma and very little character. And that's what they want. They don't want it to have any character. They want it to be neutral for the large extent, to a large extent. They want the flavor to come from the single malt whiskey that they add, various single malts. They might use a lot more Islay or a lot less Islay, more space out less. It's up to them how they want to configure it. But in Scotland, the law is it has to all be aged in oak for at least 3 years. That's the law of Scotland. It's not the law of the United States. In the United States, it can be aged not at all. Up to 80% of it can be non-aged, unaged, but they have to list it on the bottle to let you know. I don't think too many customers ever look at that. But is there a whole lot of difference in the final outcome? There's not a whole lot of difference in the final outcome because I've tried a lot of blended Scotch whiskeys, a lot, maybe too many, but a lot. And you get the same sort of overall experience that it'll have a very neutral character about it. Now it'll have subtle flavors, and you can tell that the subtle flavors are coming from the single malts. But it's very, if you want to say washed out by design, you see now, they did this by design. Because back in the 1800s, they had some Scotch whiskey companies, and their theory, supposedly, I wasn't there, was that people found Scotch whiskey too harsh. And so they had an idea to blend it with grain spirits, and they would find it more mellow, mild, bland, if you want to call it that. I believe it, though. I believe that story because I know so many people, they can't stand any food with any kind of seasoning. They're going to say, it's hot. And I'm like, it's not hot. It's just flavorful, But I know so many people, and this is Louisiana, where it's supposedly the food capital of the world and all of that. Tourism promotion. They will enjoy food that I would consider just flavorless, and they love it. Oh, yeah, it's so good. I'm like, You give them anything that's intense. Oh, no, that's gross. Okay. Now, some people say, no, it's a conspiracy. They wanted to make it cheaper. So okay, maybe they did. I don't know. It was real popular. So blended Scotch whiskeys are one of the most popular whiskeys in the world, namely Johnny Walker Red Label, which is literally the most popular Scotch whiskey of any type in the world. So you say, well, the whole world wants blandness. Okay, well, I guess they do. Once again, I don't worry about it. Seagram 7 Crown, most popular American blended whiskey. You see it in every bar in America, every bar. And you say, they don't know what good whiskey is. Yeah, and they probably don't care. So that's the problem. You care, but they don't. It's like with beer, you know, you say, how could these people just drink Bud Light all the time? Or Miller Lite? Look what they're missing, but they don't see it like that. They don't see that they're missing anything. My next door neighbors, perfect example. Absolute, I should put them on video, but they'd never do it. They love Miller Lite. Like, they love it. They used to drink Bud Light, but after 2 years ago they stopped. So they switched to Miller Lite. They come home from work. The first thing they want to do is light up Lucky Strike and pop open a can of Miller Lite, and they drink it right out the can, which is appalling to me in a personal sense. I think it's appalling. They should pour it in a glass and let it foam up and smell it. They say, you say, but they ain't. They're not like that. They're regular people, like normal. You're right. And they're just so happy to drink that, after work. That's like paradise to them. They work all day, 8 hours, 10 hours, and they sitting out in that back room, lighting up the Lucky Strike. They got a stack of Lucky Strikes. I never seen so many packs. I could smell it. If I have the windows open in the fall, I could smell it coming through. But and drinking that Miller Lite. That's what they want. I brought much higher grade beers over there to let them try. And they tried them, and they humored me. Notice, oh yeah, that's interesting. Now after I left, they probably dumped it out, and they probably looked at each other and said, "That's nasty. How does he drink that stuff?" Now that's it. It's refreshing. Oh, they love it. I'm telling you, they love it. They must buy Miller Lite on a weekly basis. Oh, it must be an amazing amount. And they only drink pint cans, no bottles, pints. They want big servings. And then I saw 2 days ago, she was drinking a 24-ounce can, the gold label, the anniversary. She probably picked that up. They don't play around. When they after work, they are drinking. And I don't care. They're not hurting me. They're not hurting anybody else. Might be hurting themselves. But and that's their goal for their beer is Miller Lite. Oh, they just say, oh, it's so good. And we say, you and I might say, oh man, come on. Oh well, enough of the rant and rave. I didn't even tell which was which. Not that it matters, honestly. But I'm gonna say this is the Diageo one, the well made. It is. So, whoa, what was the clue? I'm gonna use this clue. I'm gonna use a cheat sheet. The corn flour flavor. If it has a corn flour flavor, which I find is a little strange, I'm gonna say it's the Beams 8-star every time, and I bet you I'm gonna get it right every time. Okay, so that's it. Sorry for the long video, but I get interested in these things. I'll just be thinking about them. So then I'm enunciating what I'm thinking about. I'll just be thinking about it, and then I'll start talking about it. Well, you say you're obsessed with it. No, I'm not. I just think about it all the time. Ha ha. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Say no more. Anyway, if you want to see what I've got coming up next, I'll show you, but you're probably bored to death by now, so I won't show you, I guess. But I do have an interesting one coming up. You notice I haven't done Kentucky. I got a Kentucky whiskey, but I did New Jersey. Then I went to Indiana. And then I'm going to another state, and then I'm going to save Kentucky for last. So if you want to see what I got coming up, let me know now. Going once, going twice, going. Oh, well. You'll see it soon enough anyhow. All right, we all take care, and we'll see what tasting adventures come up.